Hey, what's up? Giles Cards here. Today I'm going to be running over how I like to do my profit loss for my sports card business. I have four main tabs here. It's main sheet, it's the month we're in, which is August. This is sold P&L. We'll get to this sheet later. This is if you grade. Then we have the inventory cost, and then the last tab's the bar graph for the yearly profit loss. Let's dive into the main sheet. Every card I buy will go on this main sheet. All these are test and example cards, names, prices, all that good stuff. But let's just get right into it. If I buy a card, I will put the date that I bought the card. I will put the player and card, which I get this name from grabbing just a eBay sale or a card ladder sale, I guess, on here just to make it simple. So as you can see, this card right here, I purchased for $10. This hypothetically is a grading fee of $87.99, and then you can see net profit loss. I'm in this card for $97.99. But that's all hypothetical. I obviously did not grade this card for $87. But essentially, I'll just grab this and I'll paste it, and then it's of course not 56 out of 99, so I'll take that out. But that card will be in there, and then like I said, my purchase price will be there as well. If I did grade the card, grading fee would go there. And then once I sell the card, I will put sold price. So let's just say I sold this card for $100. I put sold 100, and you can see net profit loss $2. So I'd mark that as green. I'd copy it and move over to August. I'd paste it, and then from here you can still see it's $2.01 profit before the shipping fee. And then I'd put sold date, today's date 8/17. That's when the money is sent to me. So we'll put that down, and then that's essentially it. And then I'd add shipping price here. Let's just say shipping was $5. I'd add shipping, and then that would actually make it negative, a loss. So I guess I'd change it back to red since we technically lost on it after shipping. But then that is essentially all the cards and all expenses out. For example, you can do the same thing. Let's just hypothetically say I sold. Hypothetically say I sold 5 cards in a lot. Let's say this card sold for 100. This card I sold for 100. Make it green, 25. This card I sold for 100. Lost $100 there. We'll make it red. I like to color coordinate profit losses. Profits green, loss red. Let's grab this card. Say I sold it for 100. And then let's just do this card. Say I sold it for $100 as well. So we would grab, this one's already in there, but we would grab the rest of these, paste those in there, and then I don't know what I did there. And then you can see, say I sold all these 5 as a lot to one person. We combine obviously shipping, so I just put shipping for the one down here. Let's say shipping on this one was $12.50. That will reflect on that, but that's for all 5 cards. And then from here you can see, okay, even if I'll sometimes do this to make sure my charting's right. Okay, on those 5 cards, he paid me $500, perfect. And then profit loss on those 5 cards, you can just do the same thing. Sum here, check those. Okay, after these 5 cards, I'm netting a profit of $19.51. And then I also like to put who I sold these to. So for reference, let's just say I sold them to Joe. And for these names, I usually like to put specific handles. So for instance, say I buy a card off a Twitter user, I'd put their specific handle here, so I know who I bought it from. Say I sold a card on, let's say, Twitter or Instagram, I'd put their specific handles there as well. But for reference, we're just going to put Joe. You bought all those cards, and then 8/17, 8/17, 8/17, 8/17. And then we have that charted for those 5 cards, and I essentially just come back here, highlight all of these, and I'll just hide them. and then now they're off our inventory numbers, which that messed up. That should not do that. This is like a dummy sheet, so I may have messed it up. However, inventory cost, it gets knocked off here, and that's our now total cost of purchase price inventory. That's how I do my basically day to day in terms of when I sell a card, sold price, copy it, I paste it in here, and you'll see the breakdown here. For incoming stuff, I mark yellow. So for instance, right here, I bought this the other day off Jack. I bought 13 slabs for $1,200. It's incoming. Sometimes I'll add extra notes like arriving, or maybe just like Monday, meaning it should get your Monday. And then once it comes from here, I will essentially make sure I have the 13 slabs, and then I will grab this, come down here, I'll paste it again down here, and then I'd clear it up here. Then I'd go like this, and then I would start slab number 1. I'd just basically break down the slabs with using these names. So say it was like a Wemby slab, I would get it in here and I'd put purchase price, $100, whatever. I'd go down through and I'd make sure all 13 slabs are charted down through here, and I'd make sure all the numbers add up to the total purchase price, which was $1,200, and then I'd clear off this, and then there'd be obviously 13 slabs down through here with all the names of the cards, if they're graded, all that good stuff, date bought, and then the seller's name over here, and I'd make sure all of these add up to $1,200. So that's just an example there. I'm gonna clear this, just delete it out of there. So all yellows incoming cards. I've had times before I started like a good sheet like this that I would buy cards. I'd be buying so many cards, and then people would not ship or try to scam or whatever, and then like a month would go by and I'd randomly remember this card I bought that I never got, and I'd have to go try to track back down who I bought it from, and then maybe open up a PayPal case or whatever. So that kind of helps with, okay, well, I have this AJ Devanza card coming in from eBay. I have this Paul Skeens coming in from eBay. I have this Jason Tatum coming in from eBay. I have this lot of cards coming in from Tyler. And then I can just go to, let's say, the X handle at Tyler and be like, okay, yeah, he sent me tracking the other day. That's good. It's supposed to come Tuesday. And then, like I said, I can even make mental notes over here, or not mental notes, I guess, but written notes over here Tuesday, just so I know when these cards are supposed to arrive. That's how I personally like to do it. Also, if there's any issues with cards, I like to add them over here, just so I know, just so it's noted. I think that's about it for the main sheet. Essentially, every card I buy and sell goes through this main sheet, and then it gets hidden after it's sold and put onto the correct month's sold P&L. And then essentially this sold P&L gets moved over to the monthly P&L, which, as you can see, August here, $44.94 profit. So let's move on to the August 2026 sold P&L. On the first of every month, you also have to make a new sheet, which is super easy. Essentially, you just duplicate it. You'd change the name. August, September. I like to color coordinate again. So say September 1st did roll around. I'd change this to red. I would hide this sheet. And then this would, of course, stay green because we're in September. We would clear all of the August stuff off of it. And then we have essentially a fresh sheet here. And then we'd have to go to the bar graph here and make sure that the equal sum of September net profit loss. I'll just scroll down. Or actually, I just grab that because it's already in there. I'll just grab this. Do that again. Equals sum September. I already have it right here. That's basically the sum of this entire column. So go back here, hit enter, and you can see 0. And then just for testing purposes, let's say $1,000, and then a loss of 500. Let's do 450. So we can see, and you can see profit 550 because it's 1,000 minus 450, 550. So that is good for the next month. However, we are in August, so I'm just going to leave that up. I'm going to hide this for now. And I also, as you can see on here, will add all expenses. So for instance, I went to the National, there's Ubers for the National, to the convention, to the hotel, all that stuff. I will add date of the purchase, what the expense is for. So instead of player card, I would add what it is for. I would add net profit loss, which would obviously be negative since it's an expense. And I'll just basically put where it is. So like Uber, and then the date would just match with that. And you can see gas for National Card Show 182, how much gas was Speedway, and then the date again. You can do the same thing with like boxes, bubble wrap, tape, whatever. So you buy stuff off Amazon, Target, Walmart, whatever it may be. Just make sure to add all your expenses in here. So you're getting your true profit loss, not a hypothetical profit loss. Just I bought a card for 50, sold it for 75, and you're not adding in the $6 shipping, the 88-cent box, the $2 worth of tape, all that good stuff. You want to make sure you have all this in here. So when adding that, let's just say hypothetically I bought something today. Let's say I re-upped on boxes from Amazon. I would put the date. And once again, I'd put the date over here. I'd put Amazon because that's where I buy my boxes. I would go to Amazon and get the exact dollar amount that I spent. Let's say it was $30. I'd add that, and I would add the correct title as well from Amazon. Say Amazon's title is 6 by 4 by 1, 50 boxes, yada 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 yada. I would add all that. So 50, 6 times 4 times 1 boxes, blah 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 blah. So I'd add all that as well. And then, like I said, this is the main part. Make sure your profit loss is right, and I would just add that as red. And then I can essentially go back and be like, okay, well, on 8/17 I bought 50 boxes for $30 off Amazon, and it is an expense, so it would go as such. And then these are just obviously adding up all the profits, all the losses, and then you get your total, like I said, come here. So you can see that changed to $14.94 rather than the $44.94 that was the original profit. So we have that. And then next up, if you grade, I'll go over this. If you don't grade, you can just ignore this. But I have my orders, all my PSA orders. So you would change the name of your order to whatever your PSA order is. I just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you would grab whatever cards you graded. Well, I guess I took that one off because we hypothetically sold it. You would grab these, so you just grab this, go to your order, and you would paste it in there, which as you can see, it kind of messed it up because I already pre-did this, so I'm going to go back. But you basically just put all the cards that you graded. So I graded this Zach, Harper, Dickerson, Kyle, Benj, and Curry. And purchase prices would already be there. What would not be there is grading fees, so you'd have to look at your PSA invoice and see specific grading fees. For this one, I got upcharged on, let's say, this card, which was $149, and the total grading fee was $150 or $188.95. So I just did $588.95 minus the upcharge $149. And then I divided it by how many cards were left, which was, what was this, 5, 6 cards? I think 5 cards left. Yeah. So I divided it by that, and I got 87.99 cents per card, other than the one that got upcharged. And I like to put final grades here just so you can kind of see easier, like, okay, Sharp got 10, 9, 9, 10, 9, 10, whatever it may be. And then you can kind of get a visual on how your orders do in total. So for instance, we had this sold for $100, so I'd plug in 100 here too, and I'd mark it green. So I know that one's sold. Let's just hypothetically go through here and sell these cards. I also want to translate grading fee here. So once I get all the grading fees worked up, I'd copy and paste all the grading fees here, which I already did. But let's just hypothetically sell these. Let's say I sold this for $150. sold this for 200, sold this for 125, sold this for 250, sold this one for 500. So you can see the net profit loss are here. Grab these, make them green, or I guess not all green. This one was a loss. So profit, profit, loss, profit, profit. So I grab these, copy, I paste them here. And then from here, I would get the same numbers. So for this one, 150, so I put 150 here. Green. The next one, the Dickerson, 200. 200, green. The Golden Mirror, 125. That's a loss, that'd be red. The Binge, 250, and then 500. So 250, 500. So I grab those are both green. And then this would obviously be total profit on the 6-card order. So out of these 6 cards, total profit came out to $4.91. That's obviously before shipping these. But that just gives you a good idea to be like, okay, my purchase price on the cards were $245. My grading fee was $588.95, which these aren't realistic numbers because obviously I'm not grading this cheap of cards at this price point. But then you get the total spent here. And then you have your total profit loss here from this grading order. And then once the grading order is complete, I usually just hide it until the next one comes around. But from here, we would still have shipping here. So we'd make sure to add in, say I sold, once again, all 3, 4, 5 of these as a lot, and the shipping was $10. I would add that an E for shipping, and that would take that out of the profit there. And I once again come over here and say I sold it to I Buy Cards on Instagram. And sometimes I might just add like Insta. So I Buy Cards on Insta, and I just put that there. Okay, he bought that lot. And then the sold date was 8/17. I'd add that in there as well. And then once again, the bar graph would update with the total profit for August. And then the inventory would update as well because it would go down once we hide these. So we would hide these since they're sold, and then the inventory cost would go down. And then the last thing we have is the bar graph, which I've been skipping back and forth on, but it just basically shows your month profit loss and a bar graph like this, and then as your year total profit loss in the corner. So this here, profit of $8,994 across January to August, and it just basically visually shows you your profit loss month over month, how you've been doing, and stuff like that. That is essentially how I like to go about charting my cards. I know a lot of people do it differently. I like to make sure all my purchase prices are right, all my expenses are included in the monthly P&L. Like I said, tape, boxes, Ubers, hotel prices if you're going to shows, table fees, all that stuff. I want to make sure it's all in here because I don't want a hypothetical, oh shoot, I made $10,000 this month and then I didn't chart $3,000 worth of hotel fees and table setups and all that stuff. I want a real profit loss, so that is exactly what I'm doing within this sheet. And then inventory cost, I kind of forgot to go over this, but on the first of every month, I want to make sure I chart down my inventory cost, or actually, my bad, on the end of every month. Well, I guess it could be the first. On the first of every month, you go back and see like, okay, on September 1st, I have $32,387 worth of cards still in my inventory. So I'd chart that down, 3876. And then just for future reference, accounting purposes, if your accountant asks you, okay, how much inventory did you have at the end of August or the end of May or the end of December? This is the big one. Make sure end of the year current inventory is correct. That is definitely the big one. The one you want to have correct is December, end of the year. So you want to make sure you do that. You want to make sure it's the correct number. And then that is the formula I use to get that, so you can copy that down. I'm going to try to leave a copy of this down below that you guys can just reference and kind of build off of if you want to use my sheathing tactics. It's really not too difficult. I do know if you're working with like a bunch of cheaper cards, like say you buy 200 cheap cards for $50 or something like that, I probably wouldn't go through and chart 200 cards and put 50 cents each on them. I'd probably do it slightly different and add like almost a lot on here. So instead of all individual cards, I would add like a 200 card lot from Card Show and add $50 here. You just have to be kind of you just got to remember when you're selling stuff how that plays into effect. I personally don't really deal with a ton of cheap cards, so this is easy to go through and be like, okay, I bought $2,500 worth of cards. It was 10 cards, and I can break down by price, and then I can have my individual price per card build out. So it works really well for me. If you think it would work well for you, like I said, I'm going to try to leave a copy of this in the description below. Let me know any comments, any suggestions, and let me know if it works out for you. It's been working great for me for past few years, and I add on to it every so often. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.